Hey, everybody, it's Lisa Copeland. I am so excited. I know so many of you are out there and you're watching this and you guys have been waiting to hear this. So I've got the chairman of the board of EXP World Holdings. Like, that's a big deal, y'all. That is a super big deal. Our chairman of EXP World Holdings today to talk about conquering the shift. And of course, I had to bring on my partner in crime, Elena Cardone, to help me co-host this today, because so many of you are out there and you're watching and you're thinking, what is going to happen in the next 12 months? You're watching the news, you're listening to the news, you're listening to everything that's going on planet Earth, and you're thinking, I'm not going to make it. But we're here to tell you that you will make it. And if you have the right partners, if you're with the right company, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you can not only survive the shift, but you can thrive during the shift. So what is better than bringing on the queen herself, who wrote about building an empire, and of course, our boss, the chairman of the board, Glenn Sanford. So I'm asking all of you out there, I don't care what company you're with, if you're a Remax or Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker, whatever it is, we're here to help every single agent thrive during a shifting market. So go ahead and share this out. I'm going to give you a minute to share this out. Elena Cardone, we have just had so much fun the last week, haven't we?
Oh, we sure have, man. Inman was amazing. We met a lot of great contacts. We got some great knowledge. And of course, our president, Jason Gessing, spoke. And of course, knocked it out of the park. I'm not just being biased, but by far the best speaker there.
He was.
So proud of our company and our organization. It was really amazing.
Yeah, he crushed it. And then, of course, and so I'm going to have Elena, I'm a little bit tell the story, because so if you look at the screen right now, y'all, if you guys see the same screen I see, Glenn Sanford sits in the middle. And I'm not sure how a hierarchy should work, but it should probably be Glenn at the front. But so we have Glenn Sanford, who is the chairman of the board of EXP World Holdings. And so, Glenn, that encompasses what? EXP Realty, Success Magazine, Verbella. Go with it from there.
Yeah, so well, you hit the three big ones. We also have in there, we just completed the acquisition at the beginning of July of Zoocasa. So it's basically a portal out of Canada that we're expanding across Canada to sort of provide a lot of the same benefits just to our EXP community that a company like a Zillow or Realtor.com would do. So that's a pretty cool project that we've acquired. And that really is the whole package. I mean, we've got Success Magazine now. It's got a number of other things, Success Coaching. We've got a co-work company in there, and we got a Speakers Bureau and some other things that have been expanded in the Success Magazine side of things. But EXP Realty, I mean, that's the big company in EXP World Holdings, and everything that we do. You mentioned the companies that we acquired. I'm kind of unique in the real estate universe as a CEO founder, in that everything that I do is actually in EXP. So you'll find other founder types. They'll have a mortgage company that they own separate from the brokerage. They'll have a title and escrow company. They'll have a coaching company. They'll have all this stuff sort of outside of the core. So in our case, we wanted to have all of our agents be shareholders. And in order to create the alignment that we intended to have from day one, we said I'm never going to have a conflict of interest with our agents and brokers. And so as a result, everything, we actually own all this stuff together. So when you talk about EXP World Holdings, it's really EXP Realty. To some extent, the agents and brokers of EXP Realty own all of that stuff.
Can we talk about that? Our friend over here was on the cover of Success Magazine. Like, that's a super big deal, right, Glenn?
It is. And congratulations. And we were honored to have Elena on the cover. And it's a 125-year personal development brand, the longest running personal development brand that currently exists today outside of the Bible. The Bible obviously is a personal development.
Elena, you have now gone up against the Bible. Go, girl.
I love it. I love it.
So
And the founder of that magazine, the name is slipping me now, but the founder of that magazine was a really forward thinker.
Napoleon Hill, wasn't it, Glenn?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Napoleon Hill, right? Glenn, it was founded by another guy, but Napoleon Hill used to contribute articles to Success Magazine quite frequently. But the founder, super big deal, but the founder was a very forward thinker, and he believed that you could create your own destiny. And so he was always about visualizing it, then taking the actions necessary to make your dream into reality, into fruition. So when I did my research, I was even more excited by the alignment of that magazine in particular.
And Elena, I mean, let's be real. That was probably the most gorgeous cover ever, right, Glenn?
it was. It was an amazing cover.
Thank you. Well, the thing that I love is that what you just said, Glenn, is people really have an opportunity when they come to EXP to really participate in all of the offerings, where you really just have opened the door for agents. You've wanted to help agents from the very beginning. I mean, the fact that we get to have ownership in the form of stocks and participate into the company and reap the rewards is just, you know, that isn't offered by franchise models. Why did you decide to set that model up that way when you could have had it all for yourself?
Ooh, good question. I love that.
Yeah. Well, the one quick phrase that comes to mind is I think it was J. Paul Getty who said, "I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of one person's efforts." That being his, and so the one of the ideas is how do we share that same opportunity with agents and brokers? How can we put them in a position? So if you think about, it's almost like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So the first thing is just survival, but then eventually it's self-actualization, and maybe there's some other things that go along in there. But I think as a business person, as you learn things about it, you learn the nuances of business, and you start to realize that the first part of business is, normally it's you need to figure out a way to just survive as a business person. So you're out there hustling, you're making sales, and then eventually you kind of go, man, how do I get off this hamster wheel? And so what does it mean to actually own a business? And in real estate, you go to any brokerage, for the most part, especially if they're not EXP, they're going to tell you, well, build your own personal practice, and you can sell that as an asset. And anyone who's been in the business for any length of time knows that that's pretty minimal in terms of the opportunity. It's pretty small. And so then the question it becomes, how do you solve this thing of, the purpose of a business, in my mind, is to serve the needs of the owner. And for me, it was, how do I build something that actually outlasts me? And then the follow on, of course, is that doesn't every agent want a business that will outlast them? And then if that's the case, then what would the model need to look like in order to kind of create that? And so that's what we were trying to solve in 2009. We had hit a downturn in the market in 2008, pretty significant, as we all know. It was the housing crash. And inside of that, we had the opportunity to take a clean sheet of paper, business-wise, and take all the things we'd learned in the prior 7 years and actually apply it to what would the next generation real estate brokerage model need to look like. For me, personally, to be willing and excited to hang my license there. And that was it. And it's, I can quote all these folks that have been involved with Success Magazine over the years, but the other one was the Zig Ziglar quote, is you can have anything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. And I figure there's a lot of agents who'd like to get off the hamster wheel. So let's solve that. And if we can solve that, then maybe we'll have a great business at the end of the day.
Okay, so Glenn, so you were the OG. Let's be real. You were the OG. you were the first cloud-based brokerage in the world. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, in the early 2000, probably 2003, 4, 5, 6, people were talking about the virtual brokerage. They were talking about reducing physical footprint and all of that, but nobody had done it. And that was the other piece in 2009. It's like, why don't we do what everybody's been talking about to create a virtual brokerage? Um, and then as we started to go down that path, we said, okay, we have to do this without bricks and mortar. Then we started to figure out that there's a whole bunch of other challenges we had to solve along the way. So there's a concept I call business constraints. And business constraints are the things that you won't do. In our case, it was, we're going to run a real estate brokerage that doesn't have bricks and mortar. So once you say you can't use bricks and mortar to solve this challenge, then you have to figure out other ways to solve the challenges. And the big one is how can agents be associated with a brokerage that doesn't have bricks and mortar and not feel like an orphan? And so that was another piece of the model, is how do we solve for that? And that's why we actually operate. We're the very first brokerage in the history of real estate to be crazy enough or goofy enough or whatever to actually show up in an office as avatars. And a lot of people, even still with EXP today, don't quite get why that's important. They use it. They think it's a little bit corny, but what it does is it gives us all a place to go to work. It gives us a place where no matter where you're at, you can jump on your computer and using now some of the new technology we have, like with Frame, with your iPhone or your Android phone, you can literally walk into an office and get your questions answered from anywhere, and you can see what people are up to. You can have water cooler conversations. You can run into people and have those sort of collisions that you would have in physical space, and you're able to do all this, virtually. And that, along with how we originally used Facebook groups and Facebook, and now Workplace by Meta, and some of the other collaboration tools. Even this Zoom now, of course, has taken a huge place in our ecosystem. But it's all about how do you create collaboration and community, and then also create an aligned compensation model so everybody has the same opportunity.
So Glenn, how were you, like, seriously, like, I think about when you did this, the players in the game, Keller Williams, Remax, Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, blah, 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 all of them, right? How were you the guy that you were like, I know what to do. I'm going to change the game. Like, how did that come about? Because it's brilliant. Like, it's like, you just want to do this, like when we meet you. And like, you're on my Facebook Live right now, and you changed the game in the entire real estate industry forever. So tell us that.
The nice thing about running a company entirely virtual is a lot of this stuff doesn't go to one's head. Like, I think if I was going to work with 2,000 staff in the same office building every day, it would be, it could feed my ego in a little bit different way than running a company entirely virtual. So that's kept me really grounded, I think, in the whole process. So I feel like, I have to come up with solutions, the same types of solutions everybody else has to come up with, to how do we stay organized, how do we create set priorities, and all of the other things that one does. But when I think about 83,000, will probably be 84,000 the next week or so, agents in 21 countries, and we probably won't go over 100,000 agents this year, but early next year we'll go over that 100,000 agent mark, which will be the 5th brand in the history of real estate to go over 100,000 agents. So you've got Remax, Century 21, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, and then it'll be EXP. So we'll be the 5th brand to go over 100,000 agents, and that'll be early next year. And it's it's pretty surreal just to think about what that means. And then if we play that out a little bit further, by 2025, we have this significant possibility, if not probability, that we'll be the largest single brand in the world in residential real estate. So
okay, but Glenn, so back to, because you're being modest right now,
right?
how did one man on planet Earth who came from Keller Williams, tell me if I'm wrong,
I was there. Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And you manifested, you created, you came up with this virtual brokerage that nobody had ever done before. Like, I'm not going to let you off the hook here, boss. I
Yeah.
want you to tell, like, how did this happen? It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think some of it was business experience prior to real estate. Uh, even before I was 35, I've had some great business mentors. Some actually in the network marketing space, which there was a couple of guys, Rick Basil and Ray Spots, that I met back in the late mid '90s, and they taught me a ton about marketing. They weren't digital marketers, but they were physical marketers. But I learned a ton from them. One of the things was you only need to find one thing that works, and then you just have to go all in on whatever that one thing is. You still want to experiment on the outside, but for me, I had been experimenting through my personal real estate career, saw where I could get the leverage, and then I also recognized the pain points. And I just had enough business experience, and I came into real estate as an entrepreneur doing real estate rather than a real estate agent trying to be an entrepreneur. And I think that is, in essence, what gave me an advantage, because I wasn't doing real estate to make ends meet, even though that was part of the early part of the real estate game. Was how do I put food on the table? How do I sell real estate? But it was to understand the ecosystem well enough to be able to leverage it in a way that was bigger than just listing and selling real estate. If it was just listing and selling real estate, I would have left within 2 to 3 years. But once I realized that there was a ton of inefficiency in real estate brokerage, and there's a ton of inefficiencies, and recognizing that the service bar um, for real estate is actually set pretty low. So it actually doesn't take a whole bunch for somebody who really decides to go all in on real estate to create true, unique differentiation in the marketplace. And so as I figured these things out, and then I figured out, what did the economic model need to look like? And I use that term on purpose because the probably the best book in the history of real estate still today, in my mind, is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book by Gary Keller and Dave Jenks. And so that book just sort of actually distills what it means to run a real estate team as an actual business, but it doesn't articulate what it means to have them. And so one of the things I figured out years ago is that in order to do things big, you had to have a vision that people actually care about and actually want to follow you on. And so for me, it was, how do we build a real estate brokerage that can actually, you could actually retire from if you wanted to retire. And that didn't exist. Keller Williams had profit share. There might be a handful of people
So
that.
Glenn, can I stop you for a second? Not
Sure.
to interrupt, but I want you to explain the difference between profit share and rev share, because it's huge, especially going into a shifting market.
Well, it's even, this is probably not in the English dictionary, but it's huger in a shifting market. um, the, the reality is that profit share, which the Keller Williams, and it was the model that needed to be designed when it was designed. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, you couldn't run a real estate brokerage virtually. We didn't have the internet. The internet didn't exist. So you had to have physical offices. And so the only way to pay for those physical offices was for somebody to actually buy a franchise and then go launch it into a local market and then send some franchise fees back to the franchisor, and then they'd run a local office. And the problem is that when you've got, 20, 50, 100, 200, 600 different offices that are run locally, you've got 600 different P&Ls with 600 different levels of ability to run a profitable office. And some people will overspend. They want the office to look the best, be the best, and they don't actually understand that they need to actually make money. And so those offices tend to not be profitable. And I don't know exactly the numbers in the Keller system, but as a general rule of thumb, a third of the offices made good money. A third of the offices were generally break even. About a third of the offices lost money. And this is probably 8-year-old information, but it's probably fairly similar in a shifting market. It could be even skewing more to the more offices losing money. So in the Keller Williams profit share system, up to half of the profit at the local market center level would get shared in the form of profit share. But if a third to a half of the offices aren't profitable, that means that if you have agents in those offices, you're going to get close to zero in profit share from those agents in those offices. So when in 2007, I was at Keller. I'd got my 1099 for my 2006 business at Keller, and that was when the light bulb went off that the profit share system didn't work for me because a lot of my agents were at non-profitable offices. And so I had 184 people, and I found out I got $6,000 the prior year in profit share. And I paid just in one office alone over, I think it was about $115,000 just in fees. And I'm like, I can hire a managing broker. So we went independent. That was kind of our thing, because we said we're going to go independent. We're going to run a team-based brokerage. And then, but what I did say at that time was, if we ever do a company, we're going to do revenue share, not profit share. And I kind of a couple different thought processes around it. The one that I figured out was that if we could predictably share revenue, a percentage of the revenue that came in this case, now we share 50% of the company dollar in the form of revenue share. So every month we share 50%. Then even a reasonable management team can break even. Like that for me is like, you just give a decent team a P&L, they'll figure out at least how to break even. But if you put a good management team in place, they can actually figure out how to actually make money and then make it sustainable over the long haul. And so fortunately, we've attracted a great management team, so we've been able to do that. But the difference between revenue share and profit share is dramatic. I mean, we've done some math, and generally it's 5 to 7 times in a decent market more than profit share that we figure out in the form of revenue share. But then we start to think about, in a bad market, it could be 10 times, 15 times, whatever, because there's just less money in a profit sharing system, whereas a revenue sharing system is still going to predictably share 50% of the company dollar, no matter what's going on in the marketplace.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you 2 things. So every month when I get my leveraged income, I get $2,000 to $3,000 additional to. They're like, you get this because that's great. I'm not even complaining. Don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But there are so many people, and I think, and Elena agrees, Elena and Mike on this, that are uneducated about how we do what we do. And they go, is EXP an MLM? Are you guys a pyramid scheme? Are you a scam? I'm like, what about the fact that I get paid for bringing in the biggest influencers on planet Earth, Elena Cardone? Like, why should I not get paid for that? And so explain to, we have all kinds of people jumping on. They're sharing this out. If you're at the EXP, you share this out, right? This is the question of the hour. When people are like, we hear you guys are an MLM or you are a Ponzi scheme. I'm like, are you joking me? I've got a multi-6-figure income because I've done my job and I'm building the company, AKA bringing on Elena Cardone and other major.
Who produces, by the way.
Who produces?
Yeah, you know what, Glenn, I'd love for you to answer that question. But before you do, I just want to tell you that, Lisa, I don't have that experience. I think because, first of all, for years, and I know that EXP is not a multi-level marketing platform, although it's structured similar to one. So it's not an MLM. So for years, Grant and I have been on the record saying how much we love MLMs because I love the community. I love that you can make money when other people are producing in the organization. I've just never found the right platform to where I could like step aside from everything in the Cardone world to come, I can't go sell shampoo. That takes me off of purpose lines. But because I'm in the real estate industry with Grant, we have 12,000 units. We have a love for the realtors. So people don't come to me. I want people out there that if you're getting that type of feedback, you might actually look at how you might be pulling that in, because I don't pull that in. When I am so excited and so sold on this model, like it just wouldn't even cross my mind. If someone were to say, oh, an MLM or this or that, I'm like, oh my gosh, isn't it amazing that Glenn Sanford, the founder of EXP, thought enough about agents that made it make sense that if you bring somebody into the agency that produces, because a scheme would be bringing somebody in who didn't produce and getting paid on them. That's wanting something for nothing. That's criminal activities. EXP is rewarding because Glenn Sanford found the model that says, you know what, if you bring in agents that support the agency and build up the agency, you are going to be rewarded for that because this is part your model. So I never have that objection. But for all those that do have that objection, how would you handle it, Glenn?
Well, because, and it isn't even a handle it. It's like I want him to thank you, Elena, because people come to you because they're part of the 10X empire, and there's a trust of 10X and there's a trust of the empire. But there's agents out there, and that objection comes up, and so I mean I know how I handle it. I'm like, hey, I'm going to bring in Elena Cardone. I'm going to get paid. End of story. Like, I'm a capitalist. It's all good. I'm going to get paid on her. Because I'm building our company. And by the way, congratulations. Our stock is up today. Woo, woo. And our earnings are up. Woo, woo, right? And so, but that doesn't happen if we're not selling real estate. And if it isn't for the influencers bringing in other partners. So anyways, Glenn, I defer back to you when someone says to you, oh, is this an MLM or a Ponzi scheme? I would just love to hear from the chairman your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so MLM and Ponzi schemes are totally two totally different things. Ponzi schemes is what Bernie Madoff did. It's where he was taking investor money and paying other investor money, that money, and saying that was a profit. So that's a Ponzi scheme, and that's basically total fraud. MLM, I've been involved over the years with probably about 5 or 6 different MLM type companies, and it certainly was part of the reason why EXP has this type of comp plan is, one, Keller Williams has it in their profit share system. It has a 7-level profit share system, which again, it's a multi-level pay structure. But the second part is, think about just this call right here, this one that we're doing on Facebook Live. How many times do you find companies that don't have this type of compensation model, where the folks in the field are actually enthusiastically growing the brand in a way that's positive and uplifting and want to better people in their lives? That's the thing that I found quite literally when I was exposed to network marketing. The most positive business people in my life were in some sort of network marketing style comp-based organization. And so for me, this is like one of the most uplifting structures one could ever be associated with. Some of the things that people think about, okay, what does MLM mean to people? It means that there's you can only recruit so many people in the world. Well, you can only sell so many hamburgers at McDonald's. They're an MLM. There's the company, then there's the country owners, then there's the regionals, then they're selling franchises, and then there's the people on the front line working to flip hamburgers. And opportunity, their opportunity is limited, generally speaking, to flipping hamburgers, maybe going to college, coming back, making some money somewhere else, and then eventually buying a McDonald's franchise. They're not going to go sort of up the ladder, so to speak, inside of the system itself. They have to actually leave the system, figure out a way to make money outside the system, and then come back if they actually want to be part of that system. In EXP, you can start as an agent. You can learn the business. You can go out there and list and sell properties. You can then attract some agents to the company, And pretty soon you have a business inside the business. And then if you also think about it, 80% of the agents that get licensed real estate won't be in the business in 2 years. 80% of the agents who are in the business today won't be in the business 5 years from now, generally speaking. So there's a lot of turnover in this industry, which means that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, there's still going to be a lot of agents who are going to be looking for, where should I build my practice? Where should I do my business? And a lot of people will have turned over in that period of time, but we'll still have, a million and a half real estate agents in the United States. We'll still have, 100,000 plus agents in Canada. There'll be 20 million licensed professionals worldwide. Some of them will be doing it part-time as a way to supplement their income. Some will be doing it full-time. And you'll have people all over the map. But it's a really great industry to apply a network marketing style comp plan to the way we share commissions. And that's what I call aligned compensation. It means that you and I are aligned. I can be leaning into your business, helping you build your business, and we've got alignment of compensation that just allows me to pour in and feel like I'm going to continue to get benefit. And then as shareholders, it doesn't matter whose organization is growing. As the company grows, the equity value goes up as well, which is another part of the aligned compensation, which even in network marketing, nobody had equity compensation. Like, we're the first company that did a revenue share program in real estate. And we're the first company in real estate to share meaningful equity with our agents and brokers. And now we got copycats coming out the wazoo. So I think we did something right.
I mean, Glenn, like, what does that feel like? Like when you walk into like an Inman or one of these real estate conferences, and like, you're the OG, right? You've got the best healthcare, which I can go into that with my $500,000 accident 2 months into the company. Equity, true equity for agents, true leverage. Like how does that make you feel? And then knowing that you've brought on people like another $1 billion brand, the Cardones, celebrities like Tariq El Moussa, because that's who brought me into the company, and Ari Lyondike. Like at night, like, what do you think about, like, when you're out there and you're like, oh my God, like, I had this great idea 10 years ago, and now look where I am today. I'm a multi-billion-dollar company, and I'm the chairman of the board. Like, I want to hear that story.
Yeah, it is super surreal. I mean, the fact that I'm in business with Elena Cardone is just it's off the chain to think about that, and it's all the other people that I'm in business with that years ago, they were like way beyond my comprehension of people I'd be in business with. I looked up to them. I was in awe. I wanted to know what they knew. I wanted to understand what they understood, because I'm a business person and I want to grow a business. And so I know that every successful business person has a nuance that they understand better than anybody else. And if I could just understand a little bit of those nuances, I can come up with my own nuanced approach. But I didn't know that this would happen. I figured in 2009, we may get a few thousand agents, maybe 10,000 agents, and that would be a home run. And obviously you get into it a while, and you see an opportunity to make it better and how to improve it. I mean, we were actually only 300 agents or so, and we're like, how do we actually did use the term 10x this, and the way we were going to 10x it back in 2012, 2013 was to make all of our agents equity shareholders, because nobody had done it before. And so, how do it's for me, it's what has nobody had done before, that you can do that will make a meaningful difference, that will differentiate from everybody else, and do that. And because if you're just copying somebody, you might get some traction. You might even be able to build a lifestyle business, might be decent. But if you innovate and you actually come up with new and unique and interesting ways to do things that nobody's ever done before, it takes you, even further. And so I think as we continue to kind of do these things, then I was in conversations with, this person over here, and then Grant last year, and because of Clubhouse, and you're like, introduced us. And then of course now Elena and I think Kevin Harrington's now part of what we're doing. I mean, we've got all these really unique people that are in our ecosystem, um, and then I'm literally just in awe of the conversations I get to have inside of the company that I founded. I mean, and they're way better than the conversations I was hoping to have with people that had already done it that weren't even with us. I'd rather talk just to the people that are with us nowadays.
I mean, isn't it cool? Okay, so I want to pivot over here real quick. I want to serve it up to Elena Cardone. So the Cardones have a multi-billion-dollar brand. And Glenn, you and I, and a few other people, Brian and Haas, and like we like, you know, we called it Operation Moby Dick. Like, let's be real. Like, we knew the Cardones would be the biggest acquisition we could make as a company. So I would love to hear Elena's thoughts on why a multi-billion-dollar company like Cardone would do a partnership, because that's not what you guys usually do. Like, you guys usually buy a company, you bring it in underneath your umbrella, and then now it's Cardone something, something, something. But you guys felt so strong about this alliance. So Elena, I want to serve this over to you.
Yeah, you know, that's true, Lisa, because we have Cardone Ventures, we acquire other companies. A lot of the times, though, they can remain their own name, but if they want to, you know, really come into the fold, and then we acquire them, and then we have like 10X Health, et cetera. But the thing that was really appealing was Grant really had an immediate connection with Glenn. It was not something I see very often. A lot of people want to do business with Grant, as I can imagine Glenn with you as well. I rarely see Grant get that excited about something. And then he was excited about it. You know, Grant has a very soft spot in his heart for realtors and for real estate. And so, you know, after finding out who Glenn was and looking at his company and his model, you know, Grant was able to, you know, put his seal of approval on it. And then I really got behind all of that when I learned about the model, because the way of the structure that you've already laid out for us, Glenn, for me, my whole entire legacy play at this point is I want to help people build empires. I want to help people leave a legacy. And you've set up that model to where they can do that, you know, with the stocks and with the revenue share aspects of the company that are willable, that, you know, can be transferred to your kids if, you know, gosh forbid something happens to you one day. And it's just, you know, the model with the second and the third source of income, not just earned income, was very appealing. And I felt like I could really bring over the woman behind the man, beside the man. But to this company, I could really bring the woman behind the thousands and really give myself an opportunity to exploit, I don't know if that's the right word, but I wanted to use it, to really leverage, I should say that, to really leverage your model, because this model, I'm so passionate about it, because this model really does give an entrepreneur or someone who really wants to build their empire, if they're really willing to listen, take actions, apply the right systems, the formula converts, and you will start being able to create that future for yourself. So it was a no-brainer for me when I actually learned about the model. It was, you know, it was really an avenue where I could really exploit, there I use the word again, my assets, which is bringing infrastructure, mindset, and support to my organization within your organization, which is actually our organization at EXP.
And Elena, like within less than a year, you've brought on 725 agents, which is probably the fastest. I don't know, Glenn, you tell me.
I don't know.
Fastest growing organ like ever. Like
it's pretty up there. I don't know exactly where it sits, but it's right at the top.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't know.
I'm going to tell you, she's going to 10X that, because
I don't know if it's the fastest growing from somebody who's just, you know, come in. Maybe there's been a realtor out there that brought lots of people with them. But what I'm pretty sure of, and again, I can't really prove this, but I'm pretty sure I could safely say, from becoming a licensed realtor in 28 days to starting with the company to now, I've probably built the largest, fastest team from not being in the industry on that aspect at all until the day I stepped foot into EXP. Maybe I have that.
I think you. I don't probably don't have to look that one up. I think you've got that one.
Woo! I get one. Yes.
But I was telling Glenn, like Elena and I just went to Inman, and it's so fun because we're so proud of who we work for, and we're so proud of what we do. And so, of course, Elena is probably, she won't want me to say this, but I'll say it. She's the biggest celebrity in the room. Let's be real. So we're walking around, people are like, Elena Cardone, whatever. And so like, let's take our picture. And so we'd like grab their badges. Oh, you're with blankety blank. Don't you want to be on Elena's team? They're like, yeah. We bring them in and talk to them. So like, it's such a unique opportunity for like most companies. Like if I worked for ABC Brokerage, I'll just leave it there, I wouldn't be allowed to build my own empire within the empire, right? The broker of record, they would be like, Lisa, bring in all your friends and I'm going to build my empire and I'm going to have the yacht and I'm going to do this, this, and this. Versus I get to build my empire because I brought on the empire builder of the world, Elena Cardone. And she and I've got big plans. I'm not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about it publicly. But she and I were so excited, right, Elena, when we left Las Vegas?
Oh, we were so excited.
We have such big strategy. It's nuts.
But the thing is Lisa, and I see Glenn's smile on his face. It's like I've been in this, this model and this business in this company now, I think for 14 months. And what is exciting is that I am even more excited now. It keeps building the more people that we know and the more that we're doing. Really quickly, I just want to add this and then go back to your story, Lisa. But one of the things about you talking about building an empire within the company, another thing I should note about what is so extraordinary in this company that we work for, when I listened to Jason Guessing at Inman, how he talked about how eXp Realty allows you to build your own database of assets that are yours, and how I didn't even really understand the magnitude of that until we spoke afterwards, how other brokerages, they don't let you do that. They own all of your, I guess it's not your
database. They own it. You put it in their CRM, they own it.
That's what I love about eXp. It's like they don't have this scarcity mindset. I have to hold on to everything. They really supply you with all of the tools that you need to make it in this industry. We're so connected because we all want to see each other win, because we all have vested interest in the company with our stocks. So it creates such a very thriving, supportive environment that, just keeps getting more exciting the more that we create on it,
It's so fun. Okay, so as we wrap this up today, Glenn, as I promised the audience, you guys are sharing this out. I know it's going to go out and replays and all of that. As we enter a shifting market. So I want to define shifting in my book. So a shift could be two things. So if you lived in California, there's two plates, right, on the earth. And if the earth shifts, it's an earthquake, right? Not so great. But you can also have a 2-degree shift, right? Where just a mindset gets shift, or maybe interest rates go up. Like that might shift the mind, right? And so I want to hear from you, the chairman of the board, what you see happening in the next 12 months during the shifting market. Do we have a 2-degree shift, or do we have an earthquake coming? I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who actually thought we were going to have an earthquake, and I think you think about this year, we had the Fed raise interest rates a bunch. We got a war in Ukraine. We got a bunch of stuff going on around the world, and that makes a lot of people pretty nervous. And so we saw the Fed raise interest rates one more time here, like less than a month ago. And we've actually seen mortgage rates, ironically, start to come down. We've actually seen fuel prices start to come down, which in my mind means that the shift isn't going to be quite as significant. So instead of a 6.0 on the Richter scale, it's going to be more like a 4.2 or something like that. You can feel it, but it's not going to ruin your foundation. You're not going to have to rebuild your house. And so, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take it seriously. I mean, there's there's the yin, the yang, that symbol they've got in sort of Buddhist. And Dennis Waitley said it, the best in my mind is that opportunity rides a dangerous wind. That's sort of what the translation of the yin, the yang is. And if you think about that, the dangerous wind is the shift. So the danger, but inside of that is just as big an opportunity. And so how do you actually turn that into an opportunity? A lot of people are going to withdraw. They're going to go look for other work. They're going to do something because they don't understand that it's just a change in, as you mentioned, thinking and attitude and what they're going to do next. Because the last thing you should ever be doing is coasting. I've referred to this phrase, which is coasting is the first stage of pain. Once you coast, you might think you can coast, and maybe you can coast for a little bit of time, but the markets and people and business and all this stuff around you keeps on going with or without you. It's one thing if you're going to retire. I'm going to actually exit the game, hang up the cleats, put things on the shelf, and I'm going to go sort of ride the sunset. That's different than coasting. Coasting is something that is more akin to, I'm going to take it easy because I can. And then what you realize is a few months later, maybe a year or years later, that coasting isn't a really good strategy. It's actually a really bad strategy because you tend to not bring your A game. In fact, the whole idea of coasting is you're not bringing your A game. You're maybe not bringing your B game. You might not even be bringing your C game, but you're expecting the same results year after year. And so if you think about the idea that I'm always going to bring my A game, then in a shifting market, you actually should be more excited than less excited, because most people, and when I say most people, I'm talking about 85, 90% of people will not bring an A game to a shifting market. And so that means that if you bring an A game, you're going to build systems, you're going to actually build relationships, you're going to actually get things in place. So when the shift completes, or if the shift defines the new normal, you will have picked up market share in the process. And so where a lot of people will withdraw, you need to figure out, how do I do more? How do I create better relationships? How do I stay in touch? How do I leverage? How do I think about, you mentioned CRM earlier, but what is your CRM? Is it something like a KV Core, or is it social? I mean, your Instagram and your Facebook and other things, I mean, that's a social CRM. Some people leverage that and don't even have to ever even touch a normal CRM. But where are you doubling down? Where are you building relationships? Where are you going deep in your relationships? How are you adding value? And how do you continue to add more value? Because when the shift completes, and right now we're in a little bit of a pause. The pause started in Q2. We're still in it. In Q3, we're still in this pause. But once we get through the pause, it will define a new normal. And if you stayed in the game, you will have picked up market share in the process. So that's the way I kind of think about it. If you've done the things that you've needed to do in the past, then you can weather the shift. If you didn't do what you needed to do in the past, well, you can probably still figure it out if you bring your A game. But if you didn't figure it out in the past and you're not going to bring your A game, I think it may be very painful. And you're muted, Lisa, by the way.
Yeah, you're muted, Lisa.
Okay, so I'm going to finish it up with this and wrap with this. We had record earnings again. Congrats, boss, in Q2. And so something to be, in the billions, something to be so proud of. I know a lot of that has to do with great management, of course, and not having bricks and mortar, and everything that you set up to do. So, going out Q3, Q4, do you have a prediction for us? Look at where is that crystal ball? Do you have one on your desk, or did you throw it out a long time ago and you're like, you know what, we're going to work through whatever comes our way?
Yeah. So one, the crystal ball did break years ago. So that from that part. But what I think about is in a shifting market, and this is for EXP, just like I was talking about, is about market share. It's about picking up market share during the slowing market. And so we talked about this last week in the earnings call, that we'll probably end up somewhere in the 90,000 range, maybe 95,000 agents by the end of the year. So another, you know, 10, 11,000 agents is kind of the prediction. Revenue wise, you can kind of look at, you know, what's been going on, and you think about the idea that the market's slowing, but we do have, you know, 40% plus more agents at EXP this year than last year. So that offsets it a bit. But in terms of actual financial projections, that's about as much as I can say without making it an actually public statement to the to the public markets. So and we don't really give forward guidance other than we talk about agent count, because I think agent count is the biggest predictor of future revenues in a company. And so that's why we focus a lot on net promoter score and improving the agent experience inside of EXP. And then we're now introducing a lot of more coaching and training through Success and other entities to help agents take their business to the next level. I know obviously Grant, and I think some of the stuff that you're doing with Cardone University is all about helping people do more. And so, anything that can help people, play at a bigger level is just going to help with their personal market share, which is going to translate into, the company picking up market share.
Oh, I love this. Elena, I just want to give you some final comments and then we will wrap this up. Like if everyone out there saw huge value in this, whether you're with EXP or you're not, but let me ask you this. Has Gary Keller ever come on to any of your Facebook Lives? I'm just asking for a friend. I live in Austin, Texas. That's all. Or with Remax, I have no clue who any of the other chairmans are. But if you've never seen the chairman of your company come on a Facebook Live, maybe you should look at my company. Elena, I'm going to serve it over to you here real quick.
I just want to thank you, Glenn, for coming on and sharing all your words of wisdom. And I'm just really excited. Still continue to be many, many years to come. We'll be very excited about our organization, our company, and growing it and helping you build it. Hopefully, maybe those next 10, 11,000 can just be from me alone. Let's go.
There you go.
Woo! Awesome. My God, you have to love the 10X mindset. Like it has changed my life. It's changed my world. Glenn, I cannot, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you enough. There's not a greater leader, in my opinion. And I've been in business for a very long time. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I've worked for amazing people and worked with amazing people, but you have been one of the most transparent, authentic, jump in there. When I called you and said, I need to pull in Grant Cardone and Elena Cardone, you were like, I'm in. What do I need to do? And you were in there. And so your level of commitment to this company, to your agents, your amazing attitude. I mean, I'm so grateful. I'm looking for, just like Elena, this is my absolute stopgap. I saw the stuff other companies put unrecruitable, but I'm definitely that person. I know Elena is also. So thank you so much. Glenn Sanford, chairman of the board of EXP World Holdings. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. And thank you for everything you do for every single one of us. Oh, and the last thing I want to say before I get off, I am going to be live again tonight with my regularly program show. I've got Christina and Jeremy Swire, and we're going to talk about real estate on blockchain. So that's going to be at 7 Central. 8 Eastern on this same channel. If you want to know how to do real estate on blockchain, put your listings out there, all of the above, then come back here at 7 Central. And I've got 2 amazing friends and partners of mine at EXP Realty, Christina and Jeremy Swire, and we're going to talk all about real estate on blockchain. Glenn, thank you so much. I'm forever grateful for everything you've done.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Elena. Great seeing you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.